Security forces in Myanmar opened fire on protesters on Sunday. More than 10 people were reportedly killed. Mass protests have been taking place across the country following the military coup 1 month ago. As tensions continue to mount, security forces have been stepping up their crackdowns. Local media reported that over 10 people have been killed by security forces who fired on protesters in the largest city of Yangon, the southern city of Dawei, and elsewhere. The Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights issued a statement saying it has received credible information that the crackdown on Sunday left at least 18 people dead. Turning now to Hong Kong, where 47 pro-democracy activists have been charged with conspiracy to commit subversion under a national security law imposed on the territory by China last year. They were among the more than 50 people arrested in January in connection with an unofficial vote last summer to choose candidates for a legislative council election. Hong Kong police said on Sunday the 47 people facing charges will appear in court on Monday. One of them is Jimmy Sham, a district council member and former head of a pro-democracy group that organized large-scale protests. Police regard the unofficial vote as a violation of the national security law because its intention was to win a majority on the council to reject the government's budget bill and force Chief Executive Carrie Lam to resign.
We must never give up. What I'm most worried about is that everyone will succumb to fear. I want them to stand firm.
The crackdown on pro-democracy activists has been intensifying. A senior Chinese official said last month that Hong Kong should always be governed by what he called patriots, suggesting the territory's electoral system needs to be reformed. In Japan, the state of emergency has been lifted for Osaka, Aichi, and 4 other prefectures as new coronavirus infections have fallen off significantly. But it's not clear whether the declaration will be lifted for Tokyo and 3 surrounding prefectures on March 7th as scheduled. The Tokyo metropolitan government confirmed 329 new cases of coronavirus in the capital on Sunday. The tally has been below 500 for 22 straight days, but it was up by more than 50 from a week ago. Tokyo officials have expressed concern that the pace of decline is slowing.
Today's case numbers have risen compared with last week. What we really need now is to reduce people's movements. This must be the top priority.
The neighboring prefectures still under emergency face a difficult medical situation. Saitama and Chiba are both at stage 4 in hospital bed occupancy, the highest level. It's one of the criteria used to decide whether to lift the declaration. The government plans to make its decision after assessing the situation with health services and infections and consulting with experts. The United States has given emergency approval to a COVID-19 vaccine that requires a single shot. This is raising hopes that it will speed up the inoculation process in the country, which is still reporting high numbers of new cases and deaths. The Food and Drug Administration says the potential benefits of the vaccine developed by Johnson & Johnson outweigh its known and potential risks. Clinical trials involved about 40,000 people. They found that at least 28 days after inoculation, the vaccine was 66.1% effective against moderate to critical symptoms. For only severe and critical cases, the figure jumps to over 85%. The same efficacy was reported in South Africa and Brazil, which are struggling with variants of the virus. The 2 vaccines the U.S. previously approved required 2 shots and storage at very low temperatures. The Johnson & Johnson product can be stored in normal refrigerators for 3 months. Authorities in Thailand have started vaccinating people against the coronavirus. Health Minister Anutin Chanwi-Riakun received the first dose on Sunday. The vaccine was developed by Chinese firm Sinovac Biotech. Anutin emphasized its safety.
I'm glad vaccines have finally arrived in Thailand. The vaccinations will protect everyone from the COVID-19 outbreak.
Thailand has authorized the emergency use of another vaccine developed by British pharmaceutical company AstraZeneca and Oxford University. Government officials in Bangkok plan to source 63 million doses of the two vaccines by the end of the year. Healthcare workers and people with chronic diseases will be given priority for the vaccinations. Thailand has been relatively successful among Southeast Asian countries in containing the outbreak, but Thai officials have been criticized for lagging behind Indonesia and Singapore in vaccinating the public. New ways of using artificial intelligence are being developed in Japan to find signs of cancer in the human body. They do this by analyzing X-rays and images from endoscopes. One such venture is a project by AI developer Preferred Networks, Kyoto Medical Association, and others. It's a deep learning analysis tool that helps diagnose lung cancer from chest X-rays. Abnormal areas are indicated in color. The tool will be used on a trial basis in cancer screenings for the public, sponsored by Kyoto Prefecture. Another device analyzes endoscope images from people's colons. It was developed by the National Cancer Center and electronics firm NEC. The tool also uses facial recognition to help doctors find tumors they may have missed.
When doctors using endoscopes get tired, they lose their concentration. AI can fully support them in such cases.
When a tumor is found, the device sounds an alert or
Dogs returned. Lady Gaga's French bulldogs found safe days after her dog walker was shot during an armed robbery. He is expected to make a full recovery. ABC's Zareen Shah with the latest on the investigation.
Tonight, as the search continues for the men who shot Lady Gaga's dog walker and stole two of her beloved French bulldogs, LAPD confirming this afternoon an unidentified woman found the dogs tied to a pole Friday night miles away from where they were kidnapped and returned them to this LAPD station. This follows Wednesday's violent snatch operation where two men shot dog walker Ryan Fisher in the chest 4 times. All captured on surveillance video obtained by TMZ. Gaga promised to pay $500,000 for Koji and Gustav's safe return. No details on if and how the woman would receive $500,000, an offer raising eyebrows when Gaga tweeted it out.
You might encourage other people to do bad things for a reward, or you're going to get an abundance of leads that probably are worthless because people are just basically trying to get the money.
Fisher's family, meanwhile, tells ABC he is still in the hospital recovering. They thank the staff and Lady Gaga for her love and concern. Whit. I'm glad those dogs are okay, Zareen. Thank you.
Start with breaking news this morning. The Food and Drug Administration has authorized use of a third vaccine against COVID. This one produced by Johnson & Johnson. Welcome news as we move into the second year of this pandemic.
So far, the CDC says 23 million Americans have been fully vaccinated. Nearly 48.5 million have received 1 dose of the 2-dose vaccines that have been until now the only option. But that changes this week with Johnson & Johnson's 1-shot vaccine.
And this morning, delivery trucks are already standing by to start shipping nearly 4 million doses of that new vaccine. One more big step today as a CDC advisory panel is set to make recommendations. ABC's Elwin Lopez is in Shepherdsville, Kentucky with more on the rollout. Elwin, good morning.
Well, good morning. We're at one of the distribution centers for J&J's vaccine, and I want you to take a look behind me at a distance. You can see those UPS trucks at the loading docks ready to ship those vaccines, just waiting for the go-ahead. This morning, a new weapon in the fight against the pandemic. The FDA adding a third game-changing tool to the U.S. arsenal against the coronavirus by greenlighting Johnson & Johnson's single-dose vaccine.
We're confident in our finding that the Janssen COVID-19 vaccine meets our rigorous standards of safety and effectiveness.
Outside of Louisville, UPS trucks already lined up at this distribution center, ready for the rollout. Arm to needle for this third shot of hope could come as early as Tuesday. Today, a CDC panel will review the trial data. Then the Public Health Agency's director would have to give the final go-ahead. 3.9 million doses of J&J's vaccine ready to ship out. 2.8 million of those to states and local jurisdictions. The rest to pharmacies, communities, and federally qualified health centers. In clinical trials, the one-dose shot is 85% effective in preventing severe disease. With more options on the market, officials urge no matter the vaccine, they are all potential lifesavers.
We believe that people should take the vaccine that they are able to access. We feel all these vaccines meet our standards for effectiveness.
But for many across the country, scoring an appointment is a battle of its own.
We feel like we're in the cracks of society. If we were in a nursing home or a retirement home, we probably would have gotten shots by now.
That's why 14-year-old Benjamin Kagan launched Chicago Vaccine Angels, a group to connect people with those hard-to-come-by shots.
It's a great feeling to be able to help people like this.
Ashley Novoa is among the hundreds the group has helped so far.
It's truly amazing what he's doing and what all of the volunteers on the Facebook group are doing. I'm so grateful for it.
And guys, J&J's vaccine was tested in communities with some of those concerning variants, and it performed well. Johnson & Johnson says it can roll out 100 million doses by the end of June. Eva?
Elwin Lopez for us there. Thank you. And joining us now is one of the developers of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, Dr. Dan Baruch, director of the Center for Virology and Vaccine Research at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. Let's start. You heard Elwin talking about those variants. How confident are you this vaccine will be effective against the new variants?
Well, thank you, Eva. It's a pleasure to be here. The J&J vaccine has proven in a large clinical trial to be highly effective against the major variants around the world, including those that have originated in Brazil and South Africa. So this vaccine has been shown to be 100% protective against hospitalizations and death, and 85% protective against severe disease for all the variants worldwide that's been tested against so far.
I know Pfizer and Moderna are looking at whether a third dose, a booster shot per se, will help against these new variants. Are you guys going to do something similar with this vaccine?
We are. We are also looking at the possibility of additional revised vaccine constructs moving forward. I think it's good to be prepared for that eventuality. However, we do know that the current vaccine is effective against the variants. So the ultimate clinical deployment of any updated or revised vaccines really waits to be determined depending on population studies.
Now, in the trial for your new vaccine, there were minimal side effects, but there were a small number of cases of people with vascular incidents and blood clots. How concerned are you about this?
Well, there is a slight numerical imbalance for blood clots, but that was not felt to be sufficient to cause it to consider it related to the vaccine, and it is something that we monitored moving forward.
All right, Dr. Dan Baruch, thank you so much for being with us.
United Nations officials say at least 18 people have been killed in Myanmar in the latest demonstrations against the coup. Police are reported to have used rubber bullets and live ammunition. Demonstrators threw petrol bombs. Donald Trump is to give his first public speech since leaving the White House. He'll address the Conservative Political Action Conference in Florida, a gathering featuring several leading Republican Party figures. The police in Thailand have used tear gas and water cannon against protesters in Bangkok. They were calling for the king to give up direct control of the military unit based in the city. 47 pro-democracy activists and opposition figures in Hong Kong have been charged with conspiracy to commit subversion. It's the largest single use of the national security law imposed by Beijing last year.